Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be making my NBA video for Monday, November the 19th. We do have a 9-game NBA slate for Monday. Definitely excited to be back on the NBA grind. Had a great week of NFL. I'm excited to make my review video as well. That will be out Monday afternoon. I'm recording this Sunday, late Sunday night after the games are all over. It was a great week of NFL. We hit on a lot of good plays in the video. Excited to make that review video. Ready to get this NBA vid out for you guys as well. Gonna go over this 9-game slate, talk about some of my favorite plays, the guys I see, early looks at this slate that I expect to be pretty heavy on, have the most exposure to. We'll go through each position and talk about some of my favorite options. But before we do get started, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video. It really means a lot. If you are new to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button down below, so that way you won't miss out on any of my new videos. So yeah, let's go ahead and look at point guard for this 9-game Monday NBA slate. Westbrook not going to play today against Sacramento, so most expensive point guard that is playable, Kemba Walker, he's 9,900. Against Boston, gets a matchup at home against Boston. Kemba's coming off a massive game. His last game against Philly, just totally dominated. Put up 60 real-life points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, had 81 DraftKings points. Played 45 minutes in overtime, lost to the Sixers. Kemba's got priced up pretty high to 9,900. This is too expensive of a price tag for me to play Kemba at this price. Against Boston, tough matchup. We've seen guys this year get priced down when they face Boston. Kemba's coming off a big 81-point game, so his price got jacked up even for a tough matchup. I'll be avoiding Kemba today. I'll probably be avoiding Victor Oladipo as well. He's listed as questionable. Ben Simmons at 8,900 would probably be the guy I would have the most interest in against the Suns. Great matchup there. Suns don't play as fast as they used to, but they're still a really bad defensive team. I would probably pay up for Ben Simmons if I could, but I feel like I'm going to prioritize other guys today. So let's maybe go to the mid-range, look at some mid-range point guards we could possibly consider. Devin Booker's price stands out to me at 7,700. He just seems underpriced for how high of a usage player he is. Not a great spot against Philly. Now they added Jimmy Butler, another really good defender on that team, but you could go to Devin Booker here at 7,700. Eric Bledsoe, 6,900. Do like him at home against Denver. Bledsoe's been playing pretty well lately, been very consistent as of late. I think he stands out. His price of 6,900. I do like him, but my favorite play at point guard, probably the guy I'm going to have the most exposure to at this position, and probably going to be one of my highest owned players on Monday, is De'Aaron Fox. He just seems way underpriced. He's probably $1,000 too cheap today. Gets a matchup at home against OKC, a game that I really like to stack. Two teams that play fast. Without Westbrook, Fox is going to be guarded by Dennis Schroeder. Schroeder's not a really elite defender by any means. Love this spot for De'Aaron Fox. He's too cheap, 6,100. Could easily get 7x, possibly even 8x this price. Played the Thunder earlier this year and put up 46 DraftKings points on them. Had 22 and 10 with 4 rebounds, 41 minutes earlier this year against the Thunder. Love De'Aaron Fox today. I expect him to be popular, but he's just too cheap, really hard to avoid. I don't see how he doesn't return value on this price. Probably like a lock in cash games, even in tournaments. If he's going to be 50% owned, I'll still have a ton of exposure to him. Might even go above that number. Love Fox, my favorite point guard on the slate by far. Then value plays, I do like COLLIN Sexton as a value point guard. He is 5,100. Dude just continues to play massive minutes with George Hill out. He's been starting for George Hill. He's played, I believe, like 35 minutes in every start this year. I think he started that first game against OKC, 42, 34, 33, 34 minutes. So at least 33 minutes in every start. Some of those games have been blowouts as well, so he could have been looking at more minutes. If this game stays close against Detroit, we're probably going to get 37, 38 minutes from COLLIN Sexton. He's not a very good point per minute player, but getting a guy at 5,100 playing nearly 40 minutes a night, really hard to avoid. I can easily see him getting 30 DraftKings points today, 6x 5,100, so have a lot of interest in COLLIN Sexton. Really like some of the mid-range and cheaper point guards today. Jordan Clarkson, another guy you can consider. He is 5,200. Don't mind going to him either. You could play him and Sexton together if you want to. Dennis Smith stands out to me, his price tag, but at 5K, I feel probably safer going to Sexton. I feel a little bit safer going to Clarkson. But Dennis Smith at 5K, I'll probably have a little bit of exposure to today. And then the last guy I want to mention is Darren Collison. So Victor Oladipo is questionable for Monday. If Oladipo is out, we could definitely go to Darren Collison at 4,900. Could also go to Corey Joseph at 3,900. Those are two value plays you could consider if Victor Oladipo is unable to play today. Let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard. At the top of this position, don't have a ton of interest. You got DeRozan against the Pelicans at 9,100. Jrue Holiday, 8,700 against the Spurs. Don't really have a ton of interest in either guy. Holiday's a guy that I've been playing a lot lately with Payton out. I believe Payton's going to remain out. I think he got hurt again. So we're going to see Jrue Holiday handling the ball a lot. But he's expensive now. He's 8,700 against a slow-paced Spurs team. It's not a Spurs team that's really good defensively, but they do play pretty slow. Probably going to be avoiding Jrue Holiday and DeRozan today. Don't really love the expensive shooting guards. I like the mid-range with some of the guys I've already talked about. Devin Booker, you can play at shooting guard. Jimmy Butler seems underpriced against Phoenix. He's only 7,900. You could also play Eric Bledsoe at shooting guard. Really like those guys in the mid-range. And then getting maybe down to some value. So there's a clear value play at this position. If Victor Oladipo is out today, Tyreke Evans, going to be really hard to avoid at 4,100. Probably will start for Oladipo if he's out. And I have a pretty good feeling that Oladipo is not going to play today. He got ruled in like 30 minutes before their last game against the Hawks, and then he played like 5 minutes and got hurt again. So since Oladipo played last game and got hurt again, I feel like they're going to be a little cautious today and probably not going to let Oladipo go out there. So Tyreke Evans will most likely be starting today for Oladipo. Should be looking at least 25, close to 30 minutes from Evans here. Very good point per minute player, has a lot of upside. Not a great matchup against the Jazz, but at 4,100, if he's going to start for Oladipo, he's just too good of a value to pass up. Going to have a lot of exposure to Tyreke Evans. Really hard to avoid. Great value play at shooting guard if you do want to go cheap. You could also go to Pat Connaughton. Played him a little bit on Friday's slate with Dante DiVincenzo. I think that's how you say his name. With him out, we saw Connaughton pick up a few minutes. He did play 23 minutes against the Bulls, 18 DraftKings points. Probably going to get about the same amount of minutes, mid-20s, 24, 25 minutes I'd project for Connaughton here. He did get priced up, though, to 4K. If Oladipo's out, I would much rather play Tyreke Evans, but Pat Connaughton at 4K is a value that you could go to. But that's it for shooting guard, the plays that stand out to me. So let's move on to small forward now. We do have Giannis at the top of this position. He's 11,300. Facing the Nuggets, really like Giannis here. AD is like the other stud that we can definitely pay up for on the slate. He's 11-6 facing the Spurs. That's probably going to be a big thing I have to debate as the day goes on. Monday is, do I want to have more exposure to AD or Giannis? And right now I'm feeling like I'm going to be a lot heavier on Giannis than AD. AD just not in a great spot against the Spurs. They're not a good defensive team, but like I said, they play slow. Historically, AD's struggled against the Spurs. AD's also more expensive than Giannis, so I think I'm going to take the $300 savings, go down to Giannis. In a good matchup against Denver, really nobody on this Denver team is going to be able to slow down Giannis. I don't think really anybody in the league can slow down this guy. He's just one of the best players in the league, one of the best options when it comes to fantasy. Just does so much. He's going to score, he's going to grab rebounds, going to get some assists. We'll get some defensive stats as well. And if this game against Denver is competitive, we're going to get massive minutes from Giannis. He did play Denver about a week ago. They won 121 to 114, 7-point game. And Giannis played 36 minutes, put up 22 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, 49 DraftKings points. Almost got a triple-double in his last game against Denver. I think we're going to see a little bit of a better game from Giannis. I project him for easily over 52 to 53 DraftKings points. And we know he has that massive upside, that massive ceiling. So love paying up for Giannis at this position. But if you do want to go to cheaper options, you have Ben Simmons and Jimmy Butler, who I mentioned earlier. Both seem a little underpriced for their matchup against the Suns. Going to maybe the mid-range plays, Gordon Hayward's no longer on a minutes limit. He could be an option at 5,900. I played him a little bit last game just because he was still really cheap. The minutes weren't really there, though. He only played 26 minutes against the Jazz. But that was a back-to-back. I'd expect we get 30 minutes back from Hayward here. I think he plays 30, 31 minutes if this is a competitive game against the Hornets. So I do like Gordon Hayward as a value play if you want to go to him. Buddy Hield really stands out to me as a price play, just too cheap. Him and De'Aaron Fox seem way underpriced for the Kings today. Hield was in a little bit of a slump earlier, but his last 2 games definitely picked it up with 31 and 37 DraftKings points. 16 points against Memphis. Last game against Houston, 23 points. Picked up a little peripherals as well. 7 rebounds, 2 assists against Houston. 4 rebounds, 3 assists against Memphis. I think we could definitely get 30-plus DraftKings points from Buddy Hield. I do like him at 5,600. Seems a little bit underpriced. for the matchup against the Thunder. And then trying to find cheap value. Juancho Hernangomez has been playing really well lately, but he's getting priced up now. He's up to $4,800 in price. Probably going to avoid him at that price tag. I liked him a lot when he was like sub 4K, when he was dirt cheap. Now at $4,800, don't see myself going to a ton of Juancho Hernangomez today at his price. And I just don't see a lot of small forward value that I love besides maybe Pat Connaughton at 4K if you want to play him. But I think that's it for small forward. So now let's move over to power forward, where you do have AD. You also have Paul George, who I didn't really talk about as small forward. Don't see myself going to Paul George today because I'd just rather play Giannis for a little bit more. But AD versus Giannis, that's a big question for me today. Like I said earlier, I'm leaning Giannis right now, but I'm still going to have some exposure to AD. I just can't avoid this guy anytime he's on the slate, especially since I play a lot of lineups. I have to have exposure to him. Just the dude has such a massive ceiling. Hard to avoid even in a suboptimal spot against the Spurs. Still going to have some exposure to AD. I'd imagine it's probably going to be like 2-1. I'll probably have like 40% Giannis, 20% AD, or 50% Giannis, 25 AD. Going to be higher on Giannis, but still going to have exposure to AD because, like I said, that ceiling is massive. But other power forward plays that we could possibly consider, I don't love like a lot of the mid-tier plays. Maybe like LaMarcus Aldridge at 8K against the Pelicans you could go to. He would be like the upper mid-tier guy I would consider. Like the 5K range, though, I think that's where we got a lot of good options. Larry Nance is one of them. Larry Nance, 5,700 against Detroit. Love him here against Detroit. I think this is a great spot for Larry Nance. He still remains a little bit underpriced, in my opinion. He's seeing pretty hefty minutes in competitive games this year. Last game against Washington, the Cavs lost by 24, so we only got 26 minutes out of Larry Nance. Against the Hornets, they won by 24 in that game. Larry Nance still played 35 minutes. Competitive game against the Bulls, we got 31 minutes out of Larry Nance. So as long as he remains starting for Sam Decker, he's going to play 30-plus minutes in competitive games. We know Larry Nance is a very productive player when he's on the court. Going to need him to guard Blake Griffin and probably guard Andre Drummond a little bit as well. So love Nance here. Tristan Thompson, we'll talk about at center. I think he's a very strong play as well. A lot of these Cavs guys just seem underpriced. DraftKings really hasn't adjusted their price tags like they should. So I love Nance at power forward, probably my favorite play at this position. Could go to Jaren Jackson for a little bit more, just 100 more, coming off a nice game against Sacramento. I think I would play Larry Nance over him, though. Feel a lot safer with Nance. Then value plays at power forward really isn't a ton that I love at this position. So I think let's go ahead and move on to center now and quickly go over centers. So Joel Embiid, a guy we haven't talked about yet, he's 11-1 facing the Suns. Obviously a great matchup for Embiid. Nobody on the Suns is going to be able to stop him, but I just can't play Embiid over Giannis or over AD. Just feel a lot safer paying up for those guys. I like Embiid when he's in the 10Ks, but once he reaches that 11K price range and above, he's just really hard to get to. Just because he doesn't project as well as AD and as Giannis, so don't see myself going to Embiid much today. I do like some of these 9K centers. I like Drummond at 9,700 against Cleveland, and I do like Jokic as well. If I was playing like cash games tournaments, I think I'd lean Drummond in cash, Jokic in tournaments, but tournaments, you can play both guys because both guys have massive upside. Drummond crushed the Cavs earlier this year. Would not be surprised if he has another big game. I like him at 9,700. Like I said, I have interest in Jokic as well. If I had to choose one, if I had to just make one lineup in like a single entry tournament, right now I think I'd lean Drummond just because I feel a little bit safer with Drummond. But I love both guys. Going to have exposure to both. But getting down to this mid-range, this is where I see some good center plays. Both DeAndre Jordan and DeAndre Ayton feel a little bit underpriced. DeAndre Ayton going up against Philly, not a great matchup, but his price tag of $6,500 definitely puts him in consideration for me. And same with DeAndre Jordan, not a great spot going up against Marc Gasol, but $6,400 price tag still feels too cheap. He still feels underpriced. I like both of those guys as price plays. And then two 5K centers I like. Willie Cauley-Stein seems underpriced at $5,800 facing the Thunder. And Tristan Thompson, $5,500 for him is way too cheap. I do really like Tristan Thompson as a cheap center. Going up against Detroit and Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, they're going to need him out on the court. He's playing solid minutes in competitive games for the Cavs this year. That game against Washington, he only played 19 minutes because it was a blowout. Really didn't need him out there. Still put up 27 DraftKings points in 19 minutes. I'd project Thompson for about 31, 32 minutes here. as long as you think this game remains competitive, which I would say it probably does, not going to project Thompson for lower minutes because of blowout. Really don't like to predict blowouts, so Thompson's going to play 30 minutes in a competitive game. He's going to be a good play at 5,500. If you want to play him and Nance together, I think that makes a ton of sense. They've got positive correlation when Nance has good games. Thompson seems to have good games as well. I like both guys as cheaper centers. Nance is center eligible if you want to play him at this position. But yeah, that's probably it for center value plays. Myles Turner seems underpriced at 4,700. Utah defensively against centers this year hasn't been as great, but you just never know what you're going to get from this guy. He hasn't really gotten a ton of minutes, just 28, 25 minutes last two games, but he's been productive, 34, 33 DraftKings points. He still feels way too cheap at 4,700. I'll probably force in like 2 or 3% Myles Turner just because the guy has a massive upside at this price, but I don't expect him to be really popular today, so not a guy I would go crazy heavy on in exposure. If I was playing like probably 20 lineups, I'd have 1 or 2 with Myles Turner, but really nothing more than that. So yeah, I think that's it for center value plays. I think that's it for the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy the video. Hopefully it helped you. If you enjoyed, make sure you click that like button. I would really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe down below if you have not already. And if you do have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or you can leave a comment down below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, good luck tonight on this NBA slate. Make sure you check out my NFL review video. I would appreciate that. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.